Great. So hello and welcome today to today's Info2Go webinar session on self-care during a pandemic, part 2. My name is Annie Gaines and I am a CE consultant here at the Idaho Commission for Libraries. We hosted our first self-care during a pandemic webinar back in April and had a lot of really positive feedback on it and several requests for a part 2. And so we're really pleased to welcome today's presenter, Karina Hagelin. Karina is an artist, community organizer, and librarian who's joining us from New York State. They are a member of the ALA Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Speakers Bureau, and their work often focuses on creating trauma-informed library spaces. So on behalf of the Idaho Commission for Libraries and our funding partner, the Institute of Museum and Library Services, it's my pleasure to hand over this virtual microphone to Karina. Take it away.
Thank you so much, Annie. Let me just get my slides up. I am so excited to join you all today to be talking about self-care during a pandemic, part 2. I watched part 1 and it was really great. So if you haven't checked that out, I'd recommend it. I've included a link to the slides here and also at the end on the Q&A slide. So I'm Karina Hagelin, and I'm an artist, activist, and librarian. I use they, them pronouns. I most recently worked at Cornell University as an outreach and instruction librarian and diversity fellow, while blogging for the Association of College and Research Libraries as a first-year academic librarian blogger. As Annie mentioned, I'm passionate about trauma-informed librarianship, outreach, programming, library instruction, and zines. As an artist, my work focuses on themes of radical self-love and vulnerability, trauma recovery, queer femme joy, mental health, and moving from surviving to thriving. You can find out more information about my work at karinakilljoy.com. And as a settler, I want to acknowledge this land, which has been the traditional land of the Cayuga Nation, members of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy for thousands of years. Today, this meeting place is still home to the Cayuga and indigenous people from across Turtle Island. I offer this land acknowledgement as a first step in understanding not only the land beneath my feet, but the ongoing genocide that has led to the foundation of American society as we know it. Decolonization is healing work for all of us. So I would love it if folks could drop where you're coming from today and whose land you're on, and maybe what you're hoping to get out of this webinar in the chat. So this is what we're going to be working on today. After today's session, you will be able to use self-care strategies and skills. I'm going to go over 10 specific ones today. Describe the role and importance of community care, which I think complements self-care very well. Apply community care principles to our lives and work. And finally, utilize resources to strengthen our knowledge of self and community care. So I want to start off with something that's super duper important to me, a reminder to take care of your body, including your nervous system. We are in the middle of a global pandemic and collective trauma, so I really want to encourage you to prioritize your wellness and take care of yourself during this webinar. Feel free to doodle or color, move your body in ways that feel good to you, eat a snack, get a drink, or whatever else you need to do. I really want to thank you for taking care of yourself today. Self-described Black lesbian mother warrior poet Audre Lorde wrote in A Burst of Light, "Caring for myself is not self-indulgence, it is self-preservation, and that is an act of political warfare. In a system that does not want to see us survive, nonetheless thrive, naming our trauma and our needs and our boundaries and taking care of ourselves and each other is a radical act of self and community love." So first, we're going to focus on self-care strategies and skills. We'll seek to answer what are some concrete self-care strategies and skills to help sustain ourselves as we do this work. I'm going to go over 10 in this section. It can feel selfish to choose ourselves, to focus on our needs and getting the care we need when we may feel smaller or more insignificant to the rest of the world. But the truth is, our needs matter. Caring for ourselves can create change because our bodies and brains are more powerful when we practice self-care. And we don't just exist, we matter. And we're worth celebrating and prioritizing and being good to. Every time we treat ourselves with the compassion, gentleness, and care we deserve, a tiny but powerful revolution happens. By showing up for ourselves, we can model what caring for yourself can look like for other folks and create space for them to do the same. So that's why this is so important to me, honestly. Our first self-care skill is creating a self-care kit. A self-care kit is a collection of items that support your mental health and help you feel good, or at least a little better. What you put in your self-care kit depends on what works for you because we all have different needs. One size does not fit all. You can put your self-care kit in a pouch or a bag to carry it with you, or a box in your house so you know where it is. Some of the things you might want to put in your self-care kit might include a light book, magazine, or zine to read, a journal and some fun pens to write with, note cards with affirmations or quotes that inspire you on them, a stress ball or fidget toy, lotion because scent is very grounding, teas or snacks you enjoy, a coloring book and crayons, your crisis plan if you have one, nail polish, and tissues. I just mentioned grounding, which is our second skill. Grounding is a coping strategy designed to ground you in or immediately connect you with the present moment. Grounding techniques often use the 5 senses: sound, touch, smell, taste, and sight. This is a great strategy for folks who experience dissociation and or have survived trauma. To connect with the here and now, do something that will bring all your attention to the present moment. Be sure to keep your eyes open while you're grounding yourself so you're aware of everything that's going on around you if possible. You can try taking a mental inventory of everything around you, such as all the colors and patterns you see, the sounds you hear, and the scents you smell. Or you can try counting how many objects of a certain color you see, and try saying them out loud as you do so. Sounds, as I mentioned earlier, are really powerful and can be helpful in grounding. So you might try using essential oils, some lotion, or burning a scented candle as I'm doing right now. And finally, temperature is a great grounding technique. You can try drinking a hot or cold beverage, taking a cold shower, or one of my pro tips is keeping an orange in your freezer and pulling it out and holding it when you're struggling. And then you can put it back in when you are done getting grounded. Our third self-care skill is journaling. Journaling has many benefits, including reducing stress, helping you work through problems, expressing yourself, clarifying your thoughts and feelings, and letting you get to know yourself better. But how do you journal effectively for self-care and not get hung up on perfectionism like I and probably so many of us do? Some strategies I have utilized are to try committing to writing just 1 sentence or writing for 5 minutes. Keep your start point small and keep going if you feel up to it. And I love to make my journaling really fun by decorating and getting creative with my pages with washi tape and stickers and colorful pens. So it doesn't have to be boring. Washi tape and stickers have helped me convince to journal daily for years now. So incorporate it into your daily routine. And finally, embrace messiness and imperfection because they're part of the process. Skill number 4 is positive self-talk, because how you talk to yourself matters. Positive self-talk, which is your internal dialogue, helps reduce stress. It's not an overnight solution, but it's something we can and need to practice daily. I try identifying negative self-talk and start interrupting it. For example, one of the things I say to myself is, would I talk this way to my best friend? And then I reframe my self-talk to be more compassionate, gentle, and caring towards myself. For example, I'm a failure can become, I'm proud of myself for trying. That was very brave of me. I also like to use affirmations, which you can write down on Post-it notes and stick them in places where you'll see them and read them out loud when you do. It helps your brain rewire itself and form new neural pathways. And be gentle with yourself. We're all works in progress. Self-care skill number 5 is connecting with your community. We are interdependent. We need each other to survive. While it can be tempting to isolate ourselves when we're struggling, try to seek out connection instead. Reach out to your community for support and companionship. This will help remind you you're not alone, allow you to access community support, enjoy the company of people you care about, whether that's via text, through a phone call, or FaceTime. And most importantly, I think, feel a sense of connection and community to combat the feelings of isolation and loneliness that so many of us are experiencing, especially right now as we're quarantining. Skill number 6 is one of my favorites, is engaging your creative self. Allowing ourselves to be creative, whether that's by making art, playing an instrument, or writing, for example, helps to connect ourselves with who we are on a deeper level. Also, it's just really fun, and it can be a good outlet for your feelings. So try making a zine, coloring in a coloring book, practicing an instrument or singing, doodling, collaging, making cards for friends. Yes, I'll try to slow down. That's a problem. Thank you, Dinah. And just like engage yourself creatively in whatever way feels good to you. That looks different for all of us, and just experiment with new methods and try things out. And like I said, try to trust the process and embrace the messiness and imperfection. Self-care skill number 7 is practicing relaxation techniques. Relaxation techniques can really help with stress relief, as well as with other mental health symptoms such as anxiety and post-traumatic stress disorder. There are many types of relaxation techniques, and it's important to find the ones that feel helpful for you, because not every technique will work for you. There are tons of guided meditations available on sites like YouTube. You can try out techniques like progressive muscle relaxation, deep breathing, body scan meditations, visualization, and mindfulness meditations. So those are some great words to search if you want to try out some relaxation techniques. I'm in an outpatient trauma recovery program, and every class we start with a different type of one of these exercises on YouTube, and it's pretty great. Here's a quote I really love from Prentice Hemphill, who is a movement facilitator, somatics teacher and practitioner, and writer. Prentice writes, "Boundaries are the distance at which I can love you and me simultaneously." So as such, self-care skill number 8 is setting healthy boundaries. Healthy boundaries are a crucial aspect of self-care, and also one of the pieces that many of us struggle with the most. Learning to set healthy boundaries is a process. It takes time, but is worth investing the work in. Healthy boundaries improve our self-esteem and relationships, allow us to conserve our emotional energy, and create space for us to grow and be vulnerable. But how do we actually set healthy boundaries? So this is a very oversimplified way to set boundaries, but first you define the boundary by identifying it. Next, you communicate it by stating your boundary clearly and assertively. Now, then you stay simple. This means basically don't over-explain or apologize for having a boundary. And finally, you set consequences by declaring consequences you're willing to follow through on and then enforce them. As I mentioned, this is an oversimplified look at the process of creating healthy boundaries. For boundary work, I love the book Boundaries and Protection by Pixie Lighthorse, which I will talk about more in the resources section of this presentation. Skill number 9 is hard. Most of these are hard because it's hard to take care of ourselves sometimes. Skill number 9 is asking for help. I think asking for help is one of the most bravest, admirable, strong things we can do. And it's also one of the most difficult and scary. But nonetheless, it's a vital skill because none of us can do this alone, and we can't get what we need unless we ask for it. So here are some things I've learned on my own journey about asking for help. Ask for help before you need it. Let your friends and chosen family know when you feel like you're approaching the point of needing help. Give them time to ready themselves so they can be more effective when you do reach out. Remember that caring for each other is a source of pleasure, joy, and liberation. Your community wants to see you thrive and will be happy to help. Some folks will be honored you ask them to, because it is an honor to have someone be vulnerable with you and ask for help. And finally, vulnerability, authenticity, and asking for what you need to thrive are signs of courage and strength. When you practice these principles, you create space for others to do the same. You are not only empowering yourself, but others in this process too. And finally, skill number 10 is seeking professional support. Sometimes we need extra help and support from a professional such as a therapist, psychiatrist, counselor, or other mental health professional. There is absolutely no shame in needing a little extra help. Only you can decide if this is the right choice for you. You don't have to be in crisis to seek professional support. In fact, why wait until you're really suffering to reach out to a professional? If you're not sure if you would benefit from professional support, it can't hurt to explore the possibility. Mental health professionals can help with things like creating plans to solve problems, feeling stronger in the face of challenges, changing maladaptive behaviors and learning healthier coping skills, figuring out and setting goals, building self-confidence, and healing from past trauma. And it's really important to interview practitioners before you start a relationship with them, because finding the right fit is really hard, but really, really important. So now I have a question I'd love for you to reflect on and share your responses in the chat, because we can all learn something from each other. So what are some of your go-to self-care strategies and skills? I'll give you a little time to answer and read some of your responses out loud, because I think like skill sharing and knowledge sharing is really important part of this work. Jennifer says, taking a long walk outside by myself. I love walking, it's really important. Engaging with nature from Bobby. Being outside is really good medicine. Taking a long hot bath from Annie. Pet my horses. Oh, I love that you have horses. That sounds amazing. Stepping outside into the cool air, exercise, and petting dogs from Ashley. And Diamond says, I've started working out and I'm reading romance novels again after a hiatus from them. That's amazing. These are all such great examples of self-care strategies. And listening to relaxing music, playing a video game online with my sister, and yoga from Asita. Those are so, you guys are so creative and have see, like I had 10 skills ready for you, but you have these skills too. So trust in your self-knowledge and what your body knows already feels good to you, and embrace that and go with it. So our next learning outcome is focusing on defining community care. We'll explore what community care is and why it's important. I want to share this quote from organizer, author, writer, and speaker, Grace Lee Boggs. Grace Lee states, the only way to survive is by taking care of one another. So what is community care? It means different things to different people, but these are two definitions I really like. From Leah, collective care means shifting our organizations to be ones where people feel fine if they get sick, cry, have needs, start late because the bus broke down, move slower, ones where there's food at the meetings, people work from home, and these aren't things we apologize for. And I think that's really important in the context of libraries, about how we can create like environments that support community care. And from Yashna, if we let ourselves be caught up in the discussion of self-care, we are missing the whole point of healing justice work. Too often self-care in our organizational culture gets translated to our individual responsibility to leave work early, go home alone, and go take a bath, go to the gym, eat some food, and go to sleep. So we do all of that self-care to return to our organizational cultures where we reproduce the systems we are trying to break. So community care is kind of an intervention and really complementary to the work we do around self-care. Benny Jones points out, when I think about community, I am more interested in what small-scale, interpersonal, social networks can do to take care of each other. I want to see what it looks like when a community can take care of individuals within that community, especially individuals who can't take care of themselves. So what does community care look like? Now that we have a basic understanding of what it is in theory, let's think about it in practice. This is another quote from Benny Jones. It looks like this. I have a strong, tight-knit community of caring folks that holds me when I can't hold myself. I have a network of people that check in on me when they realize I'm in a sunken place, instead of waiting for me to reach out, because I probably won't. Figure out what my needs are and take care of them for me. Friends and comrades feed me, get me in the shower and dressed, help me look for jobs that I can handle, gift me bath bombs and teas and booze and cigarettes and herbal medicine. and they donate money, and I don't pay them back, at least not right away, and that's okay. And this framework of community care really comes from the disability justice movement, which is led by Black, Indigenous people of color. And there's so much we can learn from that. So I have another question for y'all to reflect on and share your answers in the chat. First, I want you to think of a situation you navigated alone. If you have been able to access community care, what would have been helpful in navigating that situation? What would have enabled you to feel safe and vulnerable enough to ask for that kind of help? I'll take a few minutes for you to think about your response and share it before we continue with the rest of this presentation. And feel free to answer any part of the question that really resonates with you or that you feel safe answering. Having had to navigate the pandemic mostly alone, I definitely relate to that as someone who's immunosuppressed and lives alone. Accessible childcare would have been helpful. Family lives in another city. Having someone tell me I wasn't crazy, having validation of my understanding of the situation would have made getting through it better. Thank you all so much for your vulnerability and willingness to engage. I'm one of those people who retreats at the very moment I need help, so the part about asking for help before I need it a few slides ago really resonated. I'm so glad. Having a lack of judgment or welcoming community, very, very real. Just someone to talk to about the situation. I think so many of us are so isolated and really lack the community we need to access the support we deserve and need to thrive. Feeling like my friends are in similar situations, so I don't want to dump on them. I think for me, it was the Black Lives Matter marches that happened and continue to happen. For me, there's been a lot of anger and frustration and almost pessimistic attitudes because my people are getting hurt and I can't save the whole world at one time. That is so real and so valid. I hear you. I've had to move a lot for library work and it's been hard to find queer community to feel normal. Whoa, I relate to that. Thank you all so much for being willing to engage and share and be vulnerable with me in this. And finally, two more. Definitely feeling validated would have been helpful. I work with people who don't feel this pandemic is anything to worry about. And as someone with health issues, I feel very alone. I've been called oversensitive. I'm really sorry about that. A lot of our community is really against masks during the pandemic, and I think many people here have bad feelings against each other. So yeah, thank you so much for working with me through that. Now we're going to move from theory to practice again. What does community care look like in practice? How can we move from theory to action? So I want to share an example of what community care can look like in action in libraries. October is the month of my traumaversary. So every single October, my PTSD tends to get real bad. Last year, my supervisor, Camille, who was absolutely amazing, created a community care plan where colleagues could sign up to assist me with various tasks to help them make the months less difficult for me. I've included a screenshot of it on the left. It includes a list of the things that my community care network can do to support me, as well as a place where folks can go to sign up for different care work. This Google Doc was shared with a list of people Camille ran by me for my approval. I was involved in the process, but not in charge of it, which would have been too overwhelming for me to manage alongside my PTSD. This community care plan was a literal lifesaver, and I have had a different friend facilitate it for me this year to try and because when we have a network of people, that helps alleviate the pressure and the stress of just having one person that we're going to. So having a community is really helpful to for all of us. And if you ever need help, like a template for community care plan or anything like that, I am happy to help people develop community care plans. My email's at the end of this presentation is karina@karinakilljoy.com. And this is something that's really important to me and I love helping people with. So yeah, it's saved my life so many times. So here are some ideas of community care, because there are endless ways to practice community care. So here are a few ideas. Checking in, bringing over a meal, ordering delivery, or sending a gift card for groceries or carryout. Helping with chores, listening and validating, accompanying to appointments, sending a few dollars, no strings attached, making phone calls, asking, how can I support you? Making tangible, concrete, and specific offers of care within your capacity. Spending time together, especially with other folks who are isolated or feeling lonely or alone. Offering rides to the grocery store, to appointments, and so on. Helping with cleaning, sending a letter or care package, helping out with childcare, and feel free to drop any other ideas you have in the chat. So community care is ultimately about survival and liberation. Benny Jones writes, community care means liberation for those of us who struggle alone, fearing the burden we place on others. It means we can receive the support that we need, the support that keeps us alive. The next time someone you know is going through it, instead of telling them what they can do for themselves, try asking, how can I support you if you're capable? Because we're all going to make it through to the other side. Some of us will make our own way and others of us will only make it because of the care of others. And here's another question I'd love for you to reflect on and share your response in the chat. Has there been a situation where you practiced community care, even if you didn't define it as such? What worked well and what didn't? If you're approaching that situation again, what would you do the same or do differently? Feel free to answer any parts of this question that resonate with you or speak to you, or that you feel vulnerable or safe enough to answer and share with us. I would love to hear your like experiences with this. A colleague was recovering from minor surgery recently and had organized a spreadsheet for her friends to volunteer to walk her dog. That's great. Spreadsheets are our best friend, I think, sometimes. Yeah, we can't quit spreadsheets. Checking in with what the person actually needs is important. At one point, I offered to make a meal, but the offer was rebuffed. Yeah, it's really important to give the person who needs support and care agency and autonomy. Like sometimes we might not know what we need, but putting that offer out there and giving them the opportunity to say yes or no is really important and means a lot, because it shows that you care. And letting her guide what she needed was important. At a serving job I did, a lot of my coworkers and I got together and planned a surprise baby shower for one of our coworkers. It was her first girl. She thought we were doing a quick lunch and got surprised with balloons, clothes, and so many diapers and other baby supplies. It was great. That sounds amazing. That's so beautiful. Thanks for sharing, Diamond. Okay, so now I want to share some self-care resources, thinking about what resources we can use to strengthen our understanding of self and community care. So this is a resources and readings list around self and community care that I found helpful and useful in my process. They're linked so you can check them out on your own. but a few ones I want to highlight are Surviving the Apocalypse Together, a mutual aid, safety, and wellness planning template for COVID-19, which is an amazing workbook for mapping out safety and wellness strategies during COVID-19. Everything is awful and I'm not okay, questions to ask before giving up, is a great list of questions to ask yourself when you're struggling with actionable self-care tasks to help improve how you're doing. Care Work, Dreaming of Disability Justice is one of my favorite books. AK Press describes care work as a mapping of access as radical love, a celebration of the work that sick and disabled queer people of color are doing to find each other and build power and community, and a toolkit for everyone who wants to build radically resilient, sustainable communities of liberation where no one is left behind. Powerful and passionate, care work is a crucial and necessary call to arms. The Fireweek Collective, which offers mental health education and mutual aid through a healing justice lens with leadership by people of color. They help support the emotional wellness of all people and center the needs of those most marginalized by our society. Their work seeks to disrupt the harms of systems of abuse and oppression often reproduced by the mental health system. Blessing Manifesting is a great blog that encourages you to love yourself and practice self-care. Their blog features articles on a variety of mental health topics, accompanied by the author's cute, colorful, and informative illustrations. They also offer free downloadable ebooks and worksheets. Another one of my favorite books is Kate Bornstein's book, Hello Cruel World, 101 Alternatives to Suicide for Teens, Freaks, and Other Outlaws. This really helped me during some super difficult, dark periods of my life. Hello Cruel World features a catalog of 101 alternatives to suicide based on harm reduction that range from the playful, such as moisturizing, to the irrelevant, shattering some family values, to the controversial. Laughter is also good self-care, I think. Designed to encourage readers to give themselves permission to unleash their heart's harmless desires, this book has only one directive: don't be mean. It is this guiding principle that brings its readers on a self-validating journey which forges wholly new paths towards a resounding decision to choose life. And the National Queer and Trans Therapists of Color Network is a healing justice organization that actively works to transform mental health for queer and trans people of color in North America. Together, they build the capacity of queer and trans people of color and mental health practitioners, increase access to healing justice resources, providing technical assistance to social justice movement organizations to integrate healing justice into their work. Their website includes an interactive digital resource that helps queer and trans people of color locate queer and trans people of color mental health practitioners across the country. It also includes a Google map as well as a features practitioner page, which is organized regionally to assist people in identifying a practitioner to work with. And Boundaries and Protection, Honoring Self, Honoring Others by Pixie Lighthorse, the book I mentioned earlier about boundaries, is an amazing resource on boundary work. Lighthorse takes us on a healing journey through our developmental lacks and traumas to find the unique medicine in each situation. Gently but firmly, she also guides us to recognize where we have violated others' boundaries, to grow our humility, and to make amends. This is a book for deepening our relationships and intimacies, for developing vitality. Where our boundaries were violated as children, where our caregivers did not adequately protect us, we may unconsciously be living out the same patterns in the present and perpetuating them into the future. This book helps us see those imprints and gives us the courage to start to change, to advocate for ourselves, and to mend our fences. With 52 short, powerful chapters on different themes, Boundaries and Protection is designed for journeying. It is meant to be carried as a companion and reread at different seasons of life, its many facets revealing themselves in the fullness of time. And now it's your turn. I'd love it if you could share any self or community care resources you recommend in the chat. Maybe we'll learn about some new ones from each other. Gratitude. That's really important. I also love zines. There's a lot of great ones about mental health and trauma recovery and stuff that are really helpful. From Dinah as well. You don't have to keep a journal. Just say 2 or 3 things you're grateful for every day. That's such a great practice to have. The Anxiety and Depression Association of America has a website curating resources on managing COVID-19 anxiety that I found super helpful. And Annie's included a link in the chat. Thank you. You can always find something to be grateful for. So true. Even if I'm just grateful for my cats every single day, it helps. Reframing, refocusing my attention. The Loveland Foundation is a great website for uplifting communities of color with a focus on Black women and girls from Diamond. That sounds amazing. I will have to look into that. Understanding that everyone is dealing with this pandemic differently, to stop and think before you react or say something to someone. Keep busy, yes, refocusing. Free to print coloring book pages. In Northern Kentucky, we have the Family Nurturing Center, which offers a variety of free classes, therapy, and more, from yoga to spirituality, to art, to dance, to self-care for the holidays, from Jennifer B. Thank you all so much for sharing knowledges and skills and our experiences and expertise with each other. And finally, from Sarah, checking in with friends who I know understand and can relate to what I'm going through makes me feel less alone. Thank you, everyone. So finally, I want to remind you to take what you need from this presentation and leave the rest behind. Our self and community care journeys can be vastly different because we all have our own unique stories, identities, and histories. What works for me may not resonate with you, and what works for you may not do it for me. But together, as we've done today through our reflection questions, we can learn from each other to build and strengthen our skill sets. Which brings us to the Q&A. Feel free to pop in the chat or unmute yourself to speak. I've included my email address if you want to reach out to me there. I am happy to hear from any of y'all. I love helping out with this type of stuff and talking and having these conversations. And there's also a link to download these slides.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Karina. We'll give everyone a few seconds to think and type up their questions. I was going to try to type in the link address into the chat real quick.
Thank you.
There you go.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah. I have personally really enjoyed how bright and colorful your presentation slides are. And like your background is so bright and colorful, and like you are so bright and colorful. I wonder if you might talk a little bit about your philosophy with color, like surrounding yourself with positivity in color.
Yeah, I love color. Whenever maintenance comes over, they're like, this is the cutest, most colorful apartment in this complex. But I really find surrounding myself with like bright, colorful things, whether it's throw pillows or tapestries or curtains or textiles from the cat beds or the art I create, I just find a lot of meaning in color and a lot of healing power. So I wear like 2 colors, yellow and pink. And yellow is for brightness, like sunshine and warmth and friendliness. And pink is for vulnerability, friendship, like loving, compassion, empathy. So like I try to cultivate, and my neutral is black, which is a grounding and protection color. So I really think that like using color can really help your mental health. Like just like surrounding yourself with things you love and make you feel good helps, you know? on a very basic level. And yes, this is my workspace. I moved it into my living room. I was like, I don't need a living room. I set up a reading nook in my dining room and moved my workspace to my living room. And someone, Jennifer B, said they'd love to know more about my art. So I can show you some of my zines, because they're right here in my workspace. So I make zines about trauma recovery, radical self-love, radical vulnerability, mental health topics. I have a per-zine series called Femme Filth, which is the first zine series I made, and it's like very colorful and bright. And I sell these on Etsy via Femme Filth Press. And I also make ones like the Little Book of Affirmations for Survivors, which is a list of 35 plus trauma-informed affirmations for survivors of sexual violence. And this is another one of my favorites, Surviving to Thriving, a Trauma Survival Toolkit, which is a compilation of all the coping skills, techniques, and tools I've used in my journey to move from surviving to thriving, which is kind of like almost like what this presentation was today. So Diamond has a question. While it is important for us as librarians and librarian staff, are there community care principles applicable to the day-to-day lives of patrons as well? That is a really great question. I think community care principles are applicable to all of us. Like, I find that our patrons are part of our community, and part of what we do as librarians and library workers is providing access to resources and helping people find what they need and listening to them about what they need. So I think a lot of the principles of community care do apply to our relationships with our patrons and their day-to-day lives, because like the things we do have an impact. And in my not so humble opinion, we should all be caring for each other, whether it's for our neighbors, our friends, our chosen family, our patrons, anyone we share community with. Like, I just want to see us all thrive as much as we can. So when I have the capacity to do something for someone that could make a big difference or a little difference in their life, like, because the little differences and changes add up to big ones, you know? I want to help out as much as I can. There's this popular quote about putting your own oxygen mask on first. So do the things you need to do to take care of yourself, and then do what you can to help take care of the people around you. We're interdependent. We're not meant to do this alone. I hope that answers your question, Diamond.
Yeah, that was very well said. That was fantastic. Does anyone else have any other questions for Karina before we sign off for the day? And again, everyone who registered for this webinar will be receiving a link to the recording after the fact. And in that email, I'll have all of the links to all of the different resources that were talked about today. So don't worry if you miss something in the chat. It'll all be sort of tied up in a neat bow at the end.
Thank you so much, Annie. And thank you so much, all of y'all who came out today to this presentation. It was so great learning from and with you.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you all for participating. It was really great to learn from you today.